So Springbok squad for the Rugby Championship. I've got my Bok jersey on today. It's feeling pretty good. Apologies for the glare off the whiteboard. I've changed rooms up for today. Hopefully the sound is a touch better as well. I've got a lavalier mic just sitting in front of me. It tends to be a bit loud when I wear it on my person, so hopefully it does the right thing. I might have to get a proper mic at some point, but yeah, hopefully it's not too echoey. And I've had to lock the exposure down. This is actually take two. I had the exposure unlocked, but when the sun kind of dipped, this whiteboard just went totally bright and unreadable. So here is the Bok team. Hopefully you can see it. Hopefully the sun is not going to hide behind the clouds too often and make the room look exceptionally dark or exceptionally light. But anyway, let's get on with the job. Bok team has been named 35 guys. It's a wee bit different from the All Blacks squad in that they've gone for some extra guys overall. There's 2 extra guys in the squad and a couple of extra guys in some positions, especially scrum half. They've got 4, where the All Blacks have only got 3. And yeah, let's have a look. So if you haven't seen the squad, hookers are Mbonambi, Max and Akavanda Murva, so kind of a good mix there. In props, you got Thomas Dutoy, Wukolo, Malherba, Kitsoff, Mtawira, and in locks, it's Mostert, Ori, Sneeman, Etzebeth, and Peter Steph Dutoy kind of list that as a lock loose forward. Pure loosies is Jean-Luc Dupria, Brink, Colisi as captain, Francois Lowe, Notcher, Van Staden, and Whiteley. In terms of the backs, you got Ross Cornier, you probably can't see him behind the glare. Faf de Klerk, Ambrose Papier, and Vincile. Fly halves, you got Yankees, Pollard, and Willemse, who's an interesting one. Midfielders, Esterhuizen, Creel, Mapo, and And in terms of outside backs, it's Dianti, Mvovo, Mapimpi, and LaRue. So just the 3 overseas-based players in Francois Lowe, Faf de Klerk, and Willie LaRue. So he's showing a bit of faith in those kind of domestic-based players, although there's no Cheetahs players to be found in the squad, no Southern Kings players, so I'm not sure how that bodes going forward, but it does seem to be an endorsement for playing in Super Rugby at the moment anyway. In June, one of the biggest questions was at hooker because Malcolm Marx was injured. It was a big question about who's going to fill those big shoes of his. You know, Bismarck was named at one point, but in the end, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to replace Malcolm Marx. So fortunately, he's fit and available. So he is picked. Obviously, he's going to be the first choice. It's just going to be between Van der Merwe and Mbonambi as to who kind of fills that replacement role. Chili Boy Relapele has kind of been cut, so he's not going to be there. In terms of props, I mean, not that experienced in terms of caps, but some pretty solid hands. Thomas Dutoy, Wukolo, Malherba. Kitsoff especially had a good season. Tawira is one of your veterans, so it's good to have him around. Locks. Etzebeth is probably the interesting talking point. He's kind of done a Dane Coles in that he's not played Super Rugby all season. He's not played any rugby, but he's been picked on reputation. So similar to, like I said, Dane Coles, who's just been out. I'm not sure what his status is in terms of his fitness, whether he's pretty much ready to go now or still needs a bit of build-up time. Maybe he'll be eased back into it, but they've got some young and capable locks in Sneeman and Marvin Ori, who've had very good Super Rugby campaigns. And, you know, Mostert by now is pretty much a veteran as well, despite only having 21 caps, so he's still kind of an established vet. Loose forwards, Colisi as captain is an interesting choice. From what I read about Rassie's comments, it was pretty much that he didn't want to kind of shift things up. Captaincy was appointed. There was a bit of hoo-ha about it when it was first decided, but now that he's captain, kind of just leave it as it is rather than changing things up. So Whiteley's still in the squad, but not as captain. Van Staden, perhaps there is a fetcher, kind of a specialist fetcher, because Colisi kind of been used as a bit of a jack of all trades in his time. But from what I read from Rassie, he's looking at focusing him on the blind side. So if they are going to do put someone in as a pure fetcher, perhaps Van Staden can fill that role. But he is a debutant. So how much we can expect of him early kind of remains to be seen. Scrum halves, they got 4, so you got to think de Klerk's going to be the main man, again hidden behind the glare, but Papier and Vincile, capable backups, Cronier, bit more experience. I'm not sure if he's the way they'll go, if he's looking kind of for World Cup and World Cup after, but yeah, it's going to, kind of like Marks, I got to think that de Klerk's going to be the number one guy, and then it's just whoever backs him up. Number 10 is always going to be an interesting question when Elton Yankee's in the conversation. He's going to attract a fair bit of controversy. How many caps has he had? Like 27? 26. So we know he can do the job, but his time in the Springbok jersey has not been the best. You've got to think Pollard's going to be the number one guy, and Willemse, despite not playing kind of the end of the Super Rugby season, had a pretty good campaign overall, proved himself at Super Rugby level. He is a man for the future. So whether he backs up Pollard, kind of covering 15 as well, because Rassie did say that he doesn't see a guy this young like starting at a World Cup. He said no number 10 under 24 has won a World Cup. So perhaps putting him in at 15 to get some experience, to kind of find his feet, maybe some limited time at 10, but I guess we'll see how he goes. Midfield, obviously there's no Damien Delende. He's not been considered due to injury, so I mean Esterhuizen and Creel could be a pretty interesting combination, as would Esterhuizen and due to their kind of chemistry from the Sharks. Whether Mapo gets a shot, I kind of question it, but he's another guy who's been around for a long time, so I guess in terms of steady hands, he is a guy. The back three, they got only 4 names here. Leroux is kind of your only specialist 15, but I mean you do have Creel who can play 15, and like I said, Willemse, if they want to kind of give him some experience that way, can also cover there, as can Mvovo if needs be. But yeah, with these 3 international guys, I mean, I can definitely see Leroux getting a start and de Klerk. Whether Francois Lowe gets a start, not so sure, but it depends if he wants to kind of get Whiteley back in the system as well. I mean, Khaleesi's definitely going to be starting if he is captain. So, yeah, I mean, there's a few guys who weren't considered. Ludiaka, who not considered due to injury, Trevor Nyakane, Conor Oosthuizen, Warwick Gelant, like I said, Damon Delende and Nkosi, Sibu Nkosi. None of these guys considered due to injury. Dwayne Vermeulen, he's got a contract in Japan, so wasn't ever going to play in the Rugby Championship. And yeah, like I said, Van Staden, Willemse, and Brink are your debutants. Brink had a really good, especially close to that Super Rugby season, so hopefully he gets a crack. It's just fitting all these guys in, man. There's so many good players available, so you'd like to think that you get rewarded for your form, but it's another thing for the coach to see you in that Springbok environment and then put you in the team. Like I said, there's no Relapele, no Lions front row, which is perhaps a bit interesting. I mean, there's Malcolm Marks, but there's no Van Rooyen, no Dreyer. These guys were very solid throughout that Super Rugby campaign, one of the most lethal front rows in the comp, but no room there, so perhaps they can feel a bit aggrieved. Rob de Preer, top point scorer in the Super Rugby regular season, can't make the squad. Also a guy who can probably feel a bit hard done by. Quacker Smith seems to divide opinion a fair bit due to his size being a bit small for a guy in his position, and some would suggest that he kind of fluffs his lines in the biggest of games. So yeah, he's a guy who was in good form, but I can kind of see where Rassie is coming from when he's got so many other guys to pick from in that area. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty good looking team. There's definitely some guys who, like I said, will feel a bit kind of hard done by not to be in the squad, but there's still a lot to work with from what's there. Whether or not they can challenge for the title, kind of, I guess we'll wait and see. But with Rassie's contract going through to the next World Cup, he's building a big project, and he's got to blood some of these guys now and give the experienced guys a chance to kind of hold their hands as they go through it. I should say, though, that in terms of average caps, that All Black squad has an average of pretty much 33 caps per player, so it's a pretty experienced squad. The Springboks, 18. So there's a lot of guys here who have not played that many games in the Bok jersey. I mean, like I said, the Beast has got 100. Etzebeth's got 67. There are very few guys who crack 50 caps LaRue's 44 in this box squad for the All Blacks. You know, Dane Coles has passed 50, Retallick's passed 50, Sam Whitelock's almost at 100, Franks is almost at 100, Beauden Barrett's past 50, so there's definitely a big difference there in experience. But long term, I guess we'll see if this is the answer. You guys let me know your thoughts on the squad. I'll have a look at the Wallabies once they reduce that full training squad down to the squad proper. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.